Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching. Please confirm you can hear me. Okay. All right. A warm welcome to all parents, guardians, and educators joining us from across the world. My name is Kende, and I'll be the host for today's GCSE Parents Q&A live sessions powered by Tutorial Plus. So tonight our mission is very simple: is to give you right. GCSE can be so demanding, especially when it comes to preparation, right? Uh, Thinking of the pressure, the uncertainty, the late night worries about whether your child is on track. So that I have created this special session, right? Now, we are joined by an exceptional panel of GCSE specialists, tutors in math, English, language and literature, sciences, talking about physics, chemistry, and biology. Now, these tutors have helped students consistently move from grade 3, 4, and 5 up to 7, 8, and 9. Now, so let's take a moment to introduce our panelists. Hi, Shegun.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Um, I'm one of the panelists for today's discussion, and just as the host has mentioned, I'm honored to be one of the expert tutors at Tutorial Limited, and I've been in the business for upwards of 13 years, helping students across board, across several examination boards, GCSE, A levels, IB, AP, and with a lot of success over the years. And it's a pleasure to be here this evening to share from my experience and to also rub minds with fellow colleagues. So thank you very much for having me.
Hi, my name is Unoma Biose, and I've been tutoring with Tutoria for the past 5 years, and I've helped students in biology and chemistry to be able to do well and have good grades in their GCSE exam. I currently have a certain number of students that I'm helping and tutoring for the next 2026 GCSE, and I'm happy to be here to answer your questions to help you guide your children. I'm privileged to support you in your child's educational journey. Thank you so much.
Awesome. That's a very wonderful introduction. Thank you very much, Unoma. I have another panelist with me here. Name is Grace. Yes, Grace, could you please introduce yourself to the house? Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Grace. All right, so before we begin, I'd love to get friends joining online. So if you are watching online, could you please use the chat and answer this question? What is your child's biggest struggle with GCSE prep right now? I mean, right now, what is that biggest struggle your your child is currently facing when it comes to GCSE prep. Okay, let's see if we can get some. All right. So moving on, let's begin with some general questions every parent should hear. I'll start with Shegun. From your experience, what are the biggest reasons students struggle with GCSE preparation, even when they attend regular
So
school?
from your
Let me take that
experience
again.
over time,
So, from your
what are
experience
your
over time,
biggest
what are
reasons
your biggest reasons
why students struggle with
why
GCSE
students
prep,
struggle with GCSE
even
prep,
though they attend
even
regular
though
school?
they attend
Could you
regular
please
school?
share?
Could you please share?
Thank you very much, Kende. Well, for me, over the years, there is a mistake that students make, and they try to it's one of the things that help you, but it's not the you can classes you are not engaged and you can mark attendance, yet you are not good or you don't have mastery at whatever you're learning. Specifically for the subject that I teach, one of the things I have noticed is most of the students that do attend regular school, they don't get, shall I say, they have low exam literacy. So there is a difference between knowing the concept and knowing how to answer exam questions.
Okay.
Most of the times, the regular school is tailored towards exposing you to the concept. So you know what this concept is all about. You know what this thing is. What does this mean? What does that mean? But the classroom may not be the best place where you get to see exam, for example, mark scheme that are used to grade your exams when you are solving questions on the exam. So students obviously go to school, they normal day school, right? And then they attend classes, but they don't have the mastery of exam writing and exam passing. And because they don't really have an understanding of how to answer exam questions. So over the years, I've seen that, and that is one of the things I try to help my students with. Not just expose them to the concept, but ensure that in our class sessions, we always look at the mark scheme so that you understand the concept and then you also know how to answer the questions so that the examiners know that you know both the question and also know how to answer questions. So yeah, that's been my experience over the years.
Also,
Awesome.
one
One
thing
thing
I
I
take
take
from
from
that
that
is
is
attendance.
attendance doesn't equate mastery. You can be going to school, having your regular classes, but you may not have mastery of a subject. That is very, very key. Thank you for sharing, Shegun. Yeah.
So,
So, Unoma, this is for you. What do you think are early warning signs that parents should look out for to know when their child is not on track preparing for GCSE? Let me take that again. What are early warning signs parents should look out for, or that they need to know when their child is not on track for GCSE success? Let me share.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy. Now, over the years, I've seen that most of them, you know, in schools, they usually have these mock examinations, GCSE prep mock examinations, and then the results come out, and parents still think, oh, there's still time, there's still time, there's still time. So one of the early signs is that the child or children well don't have the good enough put it that way good enough grade that tells the parent that your child is ready to take this examination. So one of the early signs is the low grades that they usually students might have the children might have during the mock examinations. And that's a beautiful thing, because during the mock examinations, parents are able to know if their child or children are on track in preparation for the GCSE exam. One of them is maybe not so good enough grade that they get, and then you find out that your child is not, the early sign is clear. You live in the home with your child, you interact with your child, you know if your child is studying or not. There's not two ways about it. You can't gamble studying. Children, parents need to see their children study. Those parents that are science oriented, so to some extent, can involve them in asking them questions. What can we do? What do you think is your challenge? Open up to your children, speak to your children. They are old enough, no matter how young they are, talk to them, let them be able to share their fears with you, their fears or weakness and their strength with you. And from there, you take it up. So these are the early signs that I've noticed over the years. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for sharing. That's quite insightful. So we can sum it that if a child has low grade, say for example in chemistry, if the child is around, let's say, grade two, so we can tell that it's a warning, it's a sign that the child needs to prepare for exams. So thank you for that. Uh, Now, this question goes to our English language expert, Grace. What are the top mistakes students make during GCSE exam season attempt? Again, what are the top mistakes students make during the GCSE exam season? Kindly share, please.
Thank you very much for that question, sir.
And just as the solution to the first is consistent practice, routine, discipline, and doing tests in exam like conditions, this will greatly help them succeed. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for sharing, Grace. So let me come back to sharing. Um, could you please share what separates students who get grade 4, 5 from those who get grade 7, 8, 9? Please share.
that a lot of students are usually stuck in this solving easy question space, especially when they are not, when they don't have a tutor, they are probably doing self-study and self-practice. Because when they are solving questions that are easy that they can solve, they are in a space, they produce a lot of, I know the biology experts here will tell us, a lot of hormones that make them feel good, and they are like, oh, but then you realize that it goes beyond solving these easy questions when you actually want to stand out in the exam. So for me, one of the things that separate them, number one, very key, is if you want to be exceptional, having like a grade of 7, 8, or 9, you have to have a goal. That's the first thing. You must have a learning plan. No matter how brilliant or how struggling you think you are, having a learning plan, and the learning plan is going to have both the subject broken down into concepts with timelines. So for a period of 2 weeks, I need to cover these topics, and I need to have achieved this level of mastery in these topics or in this concept. Then another thing that separates them, maybe I should round off with this, is that students that do very well, they don't just read. Now they have how will I call it now? They have frequent, like a cycle. So they have cycle of testing. So, for example, you can say, okay, after every topic, I want to solve exam style question on that topic. So it becomes like a cycle. They are learning the concept, but before they move on to another concept, they find exam style questions that they can solve based on that concept that they've learned, and they make it like a routine. And that forms a sort of discipline in them, and that would, I mean, translate eventually to good grade, exceptional grades in the exam. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm going to say about that. Thank you very much.
Wow,
Wow,
that's quite a lot
that's
to
very.
unpack. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much for
very much for
sharing.
sharing.
So
So
now
now
let's
let's
dive
dive
deeply
deeply
into why we are here. And
and I'm going to start with
I'm going to start with science. My question is let me direct it to we know that for science students, of course, they can do without physics, chemistry, and biology, right? So, starting with chemistry, why are chemistry equations and mole calculations as such major stumbling blocks for students? Yeah, please share.
Thank you so much. Now, it makes me laugh because I think that's the most simple part of chemistry. That's quantitative chemistry. So when you have children finding it difficult with finding quantitative chemistry difficult, it's kind of like seriously, there's some things that that are better that you want to know or want to know than quantitative chemistry. But quantitative chemistry is very, very interesting. It is believable. Why are students afraid? I think it's just a background thing. They don't have a solid foundation of quantitative chemistry. Children that I tutor, that's their best. That's our favorite topic. Take mole, calculation of mass, using equations. So sometimes I think students just choose to, number one, they don't have a good foundation. I want to permit me to use that word. They don't have a very solid basic foundation of calculations. Secondly, they choose what they want to love. Like my colleague said, they begin to generate hormones that they're happy when they're in their comfort zone. They don't want to leave their comfort zone. So their comfort zone is atomic atomic structure, periodic table, and all that. But when it comes to quantitative chemistry, they begin to feel like it's something that is very difficult. And another thing about it is that quantitative chemistry is usually introduced in year 9, year 10. So sometimes I feel like it's not something they've had. They do it and then they step into the exam hall in year 10, 11, thereabouts. It's not like something they've done in year 7 or year 8 and less. Okay, so these are the reasons. But apart from that, there's nothing wrong from children from stopping them from loving quantitative chemistry. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for that. So we are still on science related questions, and I'll take the next question around biology. So, which biology topics are high yield and should be prioritized? Why? Because you know we don't expect students to just study and they need to set priority based on frequently asked questions and questions that can earn them high marks. So when it comes to biology, which topic should students prioritize?
Okay, so for biology, the key thing is cell biology, organization of life, and then you can go into more of infection and response, and then you look at the system, the circulatory system, and other, and the transport system. For plants, there's so much stress on cell biology. There's so much stress. Everything on cell biology, plant and animal cell, diagram, drawing them, magnification, cell microscopy is something that children should love, and it's so believable because if they begin to study, if they know that this is where more marks would be generated from, they should focus on it. So the key thing is cell biology, infection and response, the systems, organization of life is something children should just love, because you rarely find a 1 mark question. You find 3 marks. Sometimes you're asked to even explain, differentiate, describe, and these are 3 marks questions. These are places that learners can get more marks. So that is the cell biology, and all the areas I mentioned are key areas that GCSE learners should not joke with. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. And one last question before I move to Shego. This is chemistry related. So, what revision strategies help with complex chemistry content retention? Let me break it down. A child is preparing for GCSE against May 2026, and yeah, chemistry is the subject. What revision strategies can you recommend to help this child move from grade 3 to grade 8? Please share.
Okay, so it's easy. We go with a revision note. We start with a revision notes, because before you give a child exam style questions, we should go through our revision notes. So we're not starting all over and teaching. We just go with the revision notes and look at when the learner is responding, you know where their strength or their weakness is. And then after each revision, after each topic, subtopic, we hit exam style questions. Now, draw the children should love doing it. In revising, they have to get to understand what the process is like. They don't get to understand it if they don't use their hands. They're one of their sense organs, the feeling. They have to write and draw to be able to make it to stick to their brain. It must stick, because that's the point. We learn, we revise, so that at the end of the day, children, the information they have sticks, not really cramming or memorizing. They act on it, revise it critically, and then on exam day, they're able to tackle the questions. Now, on their own part, what they can do is continuous revision. Assignments will be given. They have to be serious with their assignments. They have to take their assignments very serious. They have to have a time that they will, a time set aside for them to have their own personal study time. They must feel free to discuss their strengths and their weaknesses to their teacher or their tutors, so that at the end of the day, they will go from a certain grade, a lower grade, to a higher grade, because that's the point. We want our learners to do exceedingly well. So if they follow these processes, I think every learner is good to go for the toppest grade.
All right, thank you very much for the insightful information you've shared around that.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
moving
so
forward,
moving from one grade to another is quite, let me say, requires a whole lot of work, discipline, intentionality, and determination to succeed. Right? From all you said, it goes beyond memorizing, cramming. You have to be intentional, be methodical about achieving success. So thank you for sharing. Now let's move on to physics. I'll just ask one question there. So this is Shegun. How can students master formulas with, without relying on memorization alone? How can students move from memorization to mastery of formulas? Because I know that this is very key when it comes to physics, right? So please share.
Okay, thank you very much. One of the best ways to master formulas is to use them. You see, students start from rote memorization to mastery. If you are stuck with just memorizing formulas, you have a lot of problems with physics because physics is a little bit analytical. It's physical science. But from experience, when they get to use these formulas during practice sessions to solve questions, and the more the questions they can solve with those formulas, the easier it is for them to recall these formulas during the actual exam. That's number one. Number two, which is very important. Now, every formula has what we call the dependent and the independent variable. So, for example, formula for force is F equals to ma. I tell my students, don't just memorize the formula the way it is given, try to rearrange formula. So you turn the formulas into puzzles, right? If F equals to MA, that means M equals to F over A. That also means A equals to F over M. So you know the different variations of that one formula. And with that, you can actually even solve several questions that are related to the formula. And final thing that has always helped, this one is very important, and it's like a cheat code for many students to actually know it, is units. Even when you forget a formula, units are there to help remind you of these formulas. They are like cheat codes that are there in the exam questions for you. For example, you are looking for you want to solve a question about, let's say, heat capacity, for example, and you've forgotten the formula of heat capacity, but you see the unit there, joules per grams degree Celsius. You know joules is energy. You know grams is mass. You know degree Celsius is temperature. So you already know that the formula for that is energy over mass times temperature. So even if you had forgotten, maybe because, like my colleague said, because of exam tension, you kind of forget it. Those units are there to be like a saving grace for you. So one of the things I train my student on is we don't just teach them the formula, we also link the formula to the unit so they go per person. So even if you forget one, you can use the other to kind of jog your brain to remember it. So those are kind of the steps that I believe that can be used. Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. As we were explaining, I was just like trying to relate, but sadly I cannot relate. But why? Because I wasn't a science student. But those are vital information that every science student need to take note of, right? If you forget the formula based on exam tension or what, try to use the unit to get to just bring yourself back on track. So thanks for sharing, Shegun. Now let's move to English language and literature, which many students underestimate until it becomes too late. Right. So, Grace, here's my question. Why do many students who speak English fluently still struggle in the English language exams? Let me take it again. Why do many students who speak English fluently still struggle in the GCSE English exams? Can you please share?
Thank you very much.
getting a very high mark in English. Anyway, it doesn't equate it at all because language acquisition is for communication purpose. It is subconscious. For you to do well in English, regardless of your knowledge of English, even though you speak English, you use it. But for you to do well in an exam, it has to be intentional learning of the intricacies. What would make me do well? How do I answer these questions better? How do I do this better? What do I need to do? Do I need to map the passage? In order for me to bring out this answer, they need skill sets to do well academically. That's why, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to ask a follow-up question because I understand that when it comes to English language, you need to focus on writing and comprehension. You need to consider writing, comprehension. You need to consider the inference, analysis, structure, vocabulary. Why now students lose marks? Why do students lose marks and long form comprehension and long form? I noticed over time that this a bit of challenge. Many students writing and comprehension. So why do students lose marks and what do they do to overcome this challenge? Thank you.
Students have challenges in answering comprehension passage because a child who is not equipped with the skill sets to bring out an answer, it's just like throwing someone into a mine and say separate gold from stone, and this person has not been trained to distinguish characteristics of gold. Or someone is in a place and you have silver, you have stainless steel, and you say distinguish silver from stainless steel. They look alike. So how do I distinguish silver, which is silver, from stainless steel? You need skill sets to do this. So the reason why, as much as they can read, they still do not answer comprehension questions well is because they consistent practice and getting the skill set required to get your answers in a comprehension. What are some of these skill sets required? One, sentence mapping. It is very important. When you have a comprehension, like you said, they lose mark because it is not, the skills to bring out the answer from these passages. And they usually they don't pay enough attention to it. First, you need to pay attention, especially in the GCSE exam. It can be a little tricky. Sentence mapping is a very, very important aspect of comprehension. So if we do not want them, if a student or you as a parent, you don't want your child to lose mark, we need to teach them detailed sentence mapping. What does sentence mapping help us do? It helps us map out the exact answers that are not just supposed, answers that are very much present in this passage. So yes, in order to prevent losing marks in comprehension, they need to know how to map out their passages. Then they also need to read it well. Don't bring out external answers. For instance, you're reading a passage that says, let me give an example, a passage that says water is color green. If the passage says water is color green and you are asked the question, regardless of the fact that you are aware that water is colorless, according to the passage, what color is water? Water is green. This is what we speak about when we speak about skill sets in comprehension passage. So in order to avoid losing marks, you have to pay enough attention, map your passages, bring out answers that are only present in your comprehension passage and not necessarily from general knowledge of the world. And also in their long writing, students are very funny when they use language, when they do English, because it's a language that they use every day. Mm-hmm. So sometimes some students, from my experience, they write the way they talk. Yeah. They write the way they talk, formally, informally. Mm-hmm. They say, I think you guys, when students are writing, and they're like, I think you guys should, So sometimes every form of writing has structure, it has mood. Formal writing is different from informal writing. A persuasive writing is different from a narrative writing. Right. So if they do not want to lose marks when they are doing their long writing, they need to pay attention to the type of writing they are doing, use the required skills and also the required form of language. You cannot be writing a formal writing, and you're like, so I would suggest that, you guys just, put informal languages. You cannot also use contractions when you're making a formal form of writing. The same way when you are doing persuasive writing, the goal of a persuasive writing is to convince. You have to make use of modal verbs, persuasive verbs like can, could, may, and might. So if we do not, they need the skill sets, and this comes from practice, 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 and practice. That's it.
That's very spot on because I can relate to that. And I'm pretty sure everybody can relate. Just like how do I mean? Just imagine you chatting with someone and the person is using like BRB as a response. Like, what does that mean? Be right back. Why not write a full sentence? What is BRB? Right? So for students to, in order for them not to lose mark, they need to understand the type of writing they are asked to write. Is it persuasive? Is it narrative? Whatever it is. And that will help to achieve um, the expected grade for the child. Now, let's move on to, I don't want to say the king of them all, but this is, I won't say the most challenging subject, right? Let me say one of the most challenging subjects for many students. You guess. You are correct. Yes, mathematics. Yes. Now, when students hear, well, let me say, when most students hear of mathematics, like they become cold. But I think it's not so hard. So we are going to hear from Shegun. Now, why is math the most subject that most students struggle with? Even the so-called strong students, the supposed strong students still struggle with math. Why?
Mathematics is one of those subjects that beyond understanding. I'm very careful of using that word because it feels like, is there anything beyond understanding really? But when it comes to maths, you find out that some students that you think that they are not so strong and they get high grades in math, there is a key. The key is practice. See, math is, every subject we can say they are skill based, but when it comes to mathematics, it's like learning how to play an instrument. You can learn how to play a guitar, for example, and you play, or you learn how to maybe play a keyboard. I play the keyboard, and so you play very well, and then after like you stop playing keyboard for say 3-4 months, and then you come back to the same instrument, and you will find out that you are so rusty, like so bad, and you'll be wondering, I was very good some months ago. That's the same thing with the mathematics. See, I'm saying that because, like you mentioned, even some so-called strong students, why they find math so difficult is it requires daily practice. It's one of those subjects that you have to practice and keep practicing every day, regardless of your strength in the subject. That's why I said it goes beyond understanding, really. Understanding can make us to group students into strong and weak. But when it comes to math, even the so-called strong students, if they do not practice and if they don't do the practice consistently, they might end up having problems with math. Another thing is because of the, I don't want to say stigmatization, many people have anxiety issues with math. And when they come to class as a teacher or a tutor, you see it. And there's something about anxiety, it blocks learning. It blocks learning. And so, as a teacher or a tutor teaching the students, one of the very first things you want to do is you want to break the wall. You want them to get to a space where they see math as challenging, not as a problem. It's good for math to be challenging, but they should not see math as a problem, because the moment math becomes a problem, they zone off. And when they zone off, it will reflect in their final turnout. You find students that, and the danger in that is a lot of subjects, especially in sciences, are dependent on your math skills.
Right.
Your math skills are important in chemistry, they're important in physics, in almost all, even in business. I mean, you do business maths, and these are subjects that requires your very sound mathematical skills. And because it has implications, students start to see mathematics as a problem, then it will have a ripple effect even on all the other subjects as well. So I think that's one of the reasons why math appears to be a very difficult subject across board.
Thank you for sharing. Okay. My follow-up question. Which topics historically cause the biggest grade drops over time and historically? Which topics cause the biggest grade drops? I won't mention any topic. I'll just leave it blank for you to respond to.
Okay, well, there is not just one topic, but I can think of 5 topics, and I think my colleagues here will bear me witness. Top on that list is algebra. If there's any math tutor that is, we know that is, especially for GCSE students, it is a major problem. And algebra is very key. In fact, algebra is the part of math that has application in other subjects. Several other parts of math may not really be so applicable, but see, algebra, you find application in physics, you find application in chemistry. So there is algebra is on top of the list. Then there is ratio and proportion. I can link that with solving word problems and questions that have multiple step questions. Most students love math when they don't have to first translate word problem into actual equations. So most students will prefer that because they believe that maths is just all about getting an equation, knowing the formula, and solving it and getting the answer. But when they now have to do one step of translating a word problem to an equation before they solve, it becomes a very, very big problem for them. So historically, we find students having a lot of problems with word-based problems. Then there is also probability and statistics. And you find students questioning you in the classroom that I don't see the essence of learning probability. Maybe I don't mind studying calculus because I want to do engineering, but I don't see learning probability. I'm not going to do business. I'm not going to do. Why am I studying? And you find out that because they've already formed, they have that probability not being required, not being a general topic required in student. In fact, when we check examiners report, GCSE, and they send examiners report to my school, we see statistics always. It's because many students like and so they don't do well in it over time. So yes, those are the topics I would say have proven to be.
Wow. What's your revelation? Yeah, thanks for sharing. Now, the last question for you here is, having identified the problems, what is the proven strategy to move a child from grade 3 to grade 9? That sounds vague, right? But it's possible. So, what is the proven strategy, or let me say, what are the proven strategies to move a child from grade 3 to grade 9?
Thank you very much. I think the first thing there is diagnosis. Diagnosis. What are the areas that the student is having issues with? The student that is currently in grade 3, grade 4 will obviously have some strengths because it's not grade 0, right? So obviously there is some strength. So the first thing I would advise is proper diagnosis to know what the current challenges are for that student. And whatever learning plan that you are designing will be designed around those areas of challenges or weakness. So first, diagnosis. Then second, an intensive learning plan. I said earlier that math requires constant practice. So even if this student will do chemistry twice a week, for example, they don't have that luxury when it comes to math if they are scoring 3. They don't. And they have to come to that point where they also agree that I cannot be doing math 1 hour or 2 hours per week and expect myself to move from grade 3 to grade 9. I must be ready to do minimum of 2 hours on a daily basis for a given period of time till mastery is achieved. So that must be settled at the beginning. As I said, there is a need for an intensive learning plan. And when you are designing a learning plan, one thing I normally advise, especially parents, is ensure that you get your child's or children's agreement. Let them see what is at stake, and let them see what they tend to achieve if they follow through with the learning plan, and have their they call it buy-in, have their buy-in into the plan. Let them see it as, don't let them see the plan as though they are trying to achieve your task. Don't let them see it as though they are trying to achieve your dream. Let them see it as though you are helping them to achieve their dream. So by the time it gets tough, because the truth is along the line, it's going to get tough. They remember that there is a reason why they started the journey in the first place, and they can draw strength from that. So number 1, diagnosis. Number 2, an intensive learning plan. And number 3, they should focus more on exam style. For every concept learned, find a way to solve exam style questions. I said at the beginning, I said there is a difference between knowledge of a concept and knowing how to answer exam questions. Many students know a concept, but they don't know how to answer those questions on the exam. And when it comes to mathematics, you cannot even do without that. So you want to ensure that you have an exam with the appropriate mark scheme, so that when you are doing like corrections with them, or you are sharing the solution of the questions with them, they see how they are supposed to answer the questions, like model answers. That's what you see in the mark scheme, model answers for those questions. And so not only will they know what they're supposed to do, but they know how to present their their answers in an exam. And so when we do all of this and combine all of these ingredients, I believe that at the end of the day, there should be a very huge transformation in the student grade.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing that insightful information. Now, let's give parents a clear roadmap. And these are actionable steps that parents out there need to implement immediately. I'll start with Grace. So, if you could give parents one powerful action to take today that will instantly improve GCSE outcomes, what would it be? Grace.
As an experienced tutor with over 7 years of experience, I say as a matter of fact that what parents need the most and what students need the most in order to excel in their GCSE exam is practice. There is no gimmick, there's no shortcut, there is no other way around it. It is practice. The power of education is such that someone who knows nothing today can grow into someone who knows a lot tomorrow. How does this happen? Practice. Work, intentionality. So, dear parents, if you are listening to me today, according to exam boards such as the Cambridge Exam Board, they say that students need at least 9 months to a year to prepare for an examination, especially the GCSE. They need at least 9 months to a year. But the truth is that the best time to start consistent practice was before now, but it's not late now. Today, let's start with them. Let's be intentional. As parents, your duty is to make sure that your child is the best version of themselves. So, if we want to get the best version of your child or your children, the best we can do is put them to practice today. There is a roadmap. There is a roadmap. My colleague here, Mr. Shev, just highlighted a roadmap. There is a roadmap with tutorial. And I assure you that there is a strategy, and this strategy works. There are lots and lots of reviews, many years of experience. This is experience talking. And experience is one of the most realistic things in the world. Experience is what speaks. Results is what matters. And with tutorial, there are results. So please be intentional about your children. Put them in. If you know that this child is lagging behind in a particular aspect, whatever aspect you decide, you're their parent, you know best. Whatever aspect you have identified that your child is weak from, everything we have said today, they are shying away from a topic, they are reluctant to learn. When you notice these inadequacies, please seek for external help. That's why tutorial is here actually. We can help you. We have years and years of proven strategies. These strategies work. So parents, if you really, really love your children, put them into practice today. That is the best way. Having time for practice consistently, at least 9 months to a year. If you do not have that, please just put them to practice today. And I want to assure you that their results will speak for the effort you have put in. That is what I have to say.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Grace. Now, my next question goes to Unoma. What should parents stop doing immediately before it slows their child's progress? Let me take that again. What should parents stop doing immediately, I mean now, because it slows their child's progress?
All right, thank you so much. Okay, one thing, I said two things, but one of them is the first of them that I've noticed is parents wanting their children to do beyond their capability. You want your child to take triple science when you know your child could take maybe a single science or double science award. You have to speak with your child to know what their capabilities are or what they are not. Don't make them do what they can't do. Now, if you get to know what they can do, what they can, what they can, where they can achieve good grades, support them. So one of the things, the first thing you shouldn't do is know your child's capability, work with that. GCS is a wonderful examination that gives each child each child's strength, the particular exam they can take, the particular award they can take based on their strength. So if they have to take a foundation tier or higher tier, they go for it. One thing we should stop doing, parents, is force your children to take what they can't handle. Yeah, this is what they can't handle. Another thing is assuming that your child is okay, it doesn't need help, he's going to study on its own. No, don't assume for your children, don't assume for them. Let them know, let them be supported in every way that they can. You must be there to support them. Okay, you must be there to support them. You are the first cheerleaders of your children. Support them. So not supporting them is a no-no. You must support them, parents. You must get them help, as much help as they need. You must support them with that help, and you must not make them go for what they are not supposed, what they can't handle. These are the three things I'm going to be mentioning here. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Funoma, for sharing that. Okay, so now this goes to a parent. Now that you've heard from a top tier tutor expert, your child cannot achieve grade 7, 8, 9 by guesswork, right? You need to put in the work, you need to be intentional, and these children need right guidance. And this is why Tutorial Plus is here. We are here to help a child move from whatever grade they are to your expectation, even surpass your expectation without sugarcoating it, right? Because over time, we've been in this business preparing students for exams, ensuring they excel and thrive in their academics, right? So we have resources, exam questions that students can use to practice. They have access to mark scheme to check check the correct answers, to check where they need improvement, and also to guide them on this success path. So it's not late. May GCSE is around the corner. You can start preparing them now. So if you've made up your mind uh, to uh, to embark on this journey of GCSE success, you can reach out to us via tutorialplus.com, or you send us a message on WhatsApp, reach out to any of our agents, then we will be eager to help your child achieve success across several or whatever exam bodies it is, be it AQA, EdExcel, WJEG, and whatever it is. So that is that. And for those who reach out to us immediately after this session, you have a discount of £10, right? And you have a free diagnostic session. That is immediately after the session. And what does diagnostic session covers? It covers the current GCSE grade baseline of a child. We try to assess the grade level, the area of strength, where improvements need to take place, and then you will have tailored GCSE plan for your child, starting from where they are to where they need to be. So, to close, want to thank every of our tutors for joining this call, and we thank our parents for taking out time to also join this session. Remember, the right support every student need to succeed is available. You just need to tap into it. We wish you a wonderful evening, and we will be here to share the success story of a child thriving and excelling in the May 2026 GCSE. Good evening.